ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम
नमो
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णापृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। तो ये डे 2 है श्रीमद् भागवतम। डे 1 पे हमने बस प्रीफेस पढ़ा था प्रभु। उसका कुछ कुछ इम्पोर्टेंट कुछ कुछ इम्पोर्टेंट चीजें मैं आपको पढ़ के बता दूंगा। जैसे कि हमने प्रीफेस में पढ़ा था, here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavats, namely the book Bhagavat and devotee Bhagavat. Both the Bhagavats are competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. The devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So, by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. The message of the book Bhagavat therefore have to be received from the devotee Bhagavat, and the combination of these two Bhagavat will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of the chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. The only qualification one needs to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step, courteously, and not jump forward haphazardly as with an ordinary book. It should be gone through chapter by chapter, one after another. The reading matter is so arranged with the original Sanskrit text, its English translation, synonyms, translations, and purports so that one is sure to become a God realized soul at the end of the finishing the first 9 cantos. It is a qualification of a great thinker to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold from a filthy place, and should accept a good and qualified wife from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchable. These are some important points in the preface. ओके प्रभु, तो आज हम इंट्रोडक्शन शुरू करेंगे। The one introduction. The conception of God and the conception of absolute truth are not on the same level. The Srimad Bhagavatam hits on the target of the absolute truth. The conception of God indicates the controller, whereas the conception of the absolute truth indicates the Samanvanam of the ultimate source all energies. There is no difference of opinion about the personal feature of the God as the controller, because the controller cannot be impersonal. Okay. Of course, modern government, especially democratic government, is impersonal to some extent, but ultimately the chief executive head is a person. And the impersonal feature of the government is subordinate to the personal feature. So, without a doubt, whenever we refer to control over other, we must admit the existence of the personal feature, because there is a different controller for different managerial position. There may be many small gods, according to Bhagavad Gita. Any controller who has some specific extraordinary power is called Bhutimat Sattva. Bhi- Bhutimat Sattva, or controller empowered by the Lord. There are many Vibhutimat Sattvas, controllers or gods with various specific powers, but the absolute truth is one without a second. This Srimad Bhagavatam designates the absolute truth, or the Saman Vanam, as the Param Satyam. Author of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva first offer his respectful obeisances unto the Param Satyam, absolute truth, and because the Param Satyam is the ultimate source of all energies, the Param Satyam is the supreme person. The God or the controller are undoubtedly persons, but the Param Satyam from whom the gods derive power of control is the supreme person. The Sanskrit word Iswara, controller, conveys the importance of God, but the supreme person is called Param Iswara, Parameswara, or the supreme Iswara. The supreme person or Parameswara is the supreme conscious personality, and because he does not derive any power from any other source, he is supremely independent. In the Vedic literature, Brahma is described as the supreme god or the head of all other gods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, but the Srimad Bhagavatam confirms that even Brahma is not independent as far as his power and knowledge are concerned. He received knowledge in the form of the Vedas from the Supreme Person who resides within the heart of every living being. Okay, so he received knowledge in the form of Vedas from the Supreme Person who resides within the heart of every living being. That Supreme Personality knows everything directly and indirectly. Individual infinitesimal person who are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality may know directly and indirectly everything, but their bodies or external features. But the Supreme Personality knows everything about both his external and internal features. Okay. The word Janmadya Asya suggests that the source of all the production, maintenance, or destruction is the same Supreme Conscious Person. Even the source of all production, maintenance, and destruction is the same Supreme Conscious Person. Even in our present experience, we can know that nothing is generated from inert matter, but inert matter can be generated from the living entity. From instance, by contact with the living entity, the material body develops into a working machine. Man with a poor fund of knowledge mistake the bodily machinery to be the living being. But the fact is that the living being is the basis of bodily machine. The bodily machine is useless as soon as the living spark is away from it. Similarly, the original source of all the material energy is the Supreme Person. This fact is expressed in all the Vedic literature, and all the exponents of spiritual science have accepted this truth. The living force is called Brahma, and one of the great Acharyas teacher, namely Sripad Shankaracharya, has preached that Brahma in substance, whereas the cosmic world is category. The original source of all energy is the living force, and he is logically accepted as the supreme person. He is therefore conscious of everything past, present, and future, and also of each and every corner of his manifestation, both material and spiritual. As imperfect living beings does not even know what is happening within his own personal body. He eats his food but does not know how this food is transformed into energy or how it sustains his body. When a living being is perfect, he is aware of everything that happens. And since the Supreme Person is all perfect, it's quite natural that he knows everything in all detail. Consequently, the perfect personality is addressed in the Srimad Bhagavatam as Vasudeva, or one who lives everywhere in full consciousness and in full possession of his complete energy. All of this is clearly explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the reader has ample opportunity to study this critically. In the modern age, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the Srimad Bhagavatam by practical demonstrations. It is easier to penetrate into the topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam through the medium of Sri Chaitanya's causeless mercy. Therefore, short sketch of his life, therefore, a short sketch of his life and precepts is inserted herein to help the reader understand the real merit of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is imperative that one learn the Srimad Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. The person Bhagavatam is one who very life is Srimad Bhagavatam in practice. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the absolute personality of Godhead, he is both Bhagavan and Bhagavatam in person and in sound. Therefore, this process of approaching the Srimad Bhagavatam is practical for all people of the world. All people of the world. It was his wish that Srimad Bhagavatam be preached in every nook and corner of the world by those who happened to take their birth in India. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, of whom he have preliminary information from the text of the Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, of whom we have preliminary information from the text of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that anyone, regardless of what he is, who is well versed in the science of Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, can become an authorized preacher or preceptor in the science of Krishna, who is well versed in the science of Krishna. Okay. There is a need for the science of Krishna in the human society for the good of all suffering humanity of the world, and we simply request the leaders of all nations to pick up this science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society and for the good of all the world's people. A short sketch of the life and teaching of Lord Chaitanya, the preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great apostle of love of God and the father of the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, advented himself as Sridham Mayapur, a quarter in the city of Navadip in Bengal. For on the Falguni Purnima evening in the year 1407 Sakabda, corresponding to February 1486 by Christian calendar. His father is Jagannath Mishra, a learned Brahmana from the district of Sylhet, came to Navadip as a student because at that time Navadip was considered to be the center of education and culture. He domiciled, he domiciled on the banks of the Gangas after marrying Srimati Sachi Devi, a daughter of Sila Nilambar Chakravarti. Nilambar Chakravarti, the great learned scholar of the Navadip. The great learned scholar of domiciled. Acha. Jagannath Mishra had a number of daughters by his wife Srimati Sachi Devi. The most of them expired at an early age. Two surviving sons, Sri Vishwarupa and Viswambhara, become at last the object of their parental affection. The tenth and youngest son, who was named uh, Viswambhara, later become known as Nimai Pandit. Oh, the tenth and youngest son. वो थोड़ा चाचा ले आएगा इसका, ये लगा दीजिए ना. The 10th and youngest son, who was named Vishwambara, later became known as Nimai Pandit, and then after accepting the renounced order of life, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, अच्छा पहले तो उसको विश्वम्भरा, इनका नाम था विश्वम्भरा, is the 10th youngest son, was named as विश्वम्भरा, उनके पहले नाम था विश्वम्भरा, फिर उनको निमाई पंडित बोला जाता है, and after accepting the renounced order, उनको श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु बोला गया. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his transcendental activities for 48 years. Okay, and then disappeared from the mortal world in the year 1455, Sakabda at Puri. For his first 24 years, he remained at Navadvip as a student and a householder. So, from 48 years, the first 24 years, he remained in Navadvip Dham. Okay, a student and a householder. His first wife was Srimati Lakshmi Priya, who died at an early age when the Lord was away from home. When he returned from the East Bengal, he was requested by his mother to accept a second wife, and he agreed. His second wife was Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi, Lakshmi Priya, and Vishnu Priya Devi, who bore the separation of the Lord throughout her life because who bore the separation of the Lord throughout her life. The Lord took the order of sannyas at the age of 24 when Srimati Vishnupriya was barely 16 years old. Okay, after taking sannyas, the Lord made his headquarters at Jagannath Puri due to the request of his mother, Srimati Sachi Devi. After taking sannyas, the Lord made his headquarters at Jagannath Puri due to the request of his mother, Srimati Sachi Devi. The Lord remained for 24 years at Puri. For 6 years of this time, he traveled continuously all over India. अच्छा 24 years से ये 6 साल में, and especially throughout southern India. Okay, preaching the Srimad Bhagavatam. But Chaitanya was not only preached the Srimad Bhagavatam, but propagated the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita as well as in the most practical way. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna is depicted as the absolute personality of Godhead, and his last statements in that great book of the transcendental knowledge instruct that one should give up all the modes of religious activities and accept him, Lord Sri Krishna, as the only worshipable Lord. The Lord then assured that all his devotees would be protected from all sort of sinful acts, and that for them there would be no cause of anxiety. Okay, ये बोले थे, ठीक है. Unfortunately, despite Lord Sri Krishna's direct road to the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, less intelligent people misunderstand him to be nothing but a great historical personality, and thus they cannot accept him as the original personality of Godhead. Such men with a poor fund of knowledge are misled by many non-devotees. Thus, the teaching of Bhagavad Gita were misinterpreted even by great scholars. After the disappearance of Lord Sri Chaitanya, Lord Sri Krishna, there were hundreds of commentaries on Bhagavad Gita by many erudite, uh, erudite scholars, and almost every one of them was motivated by self-interest. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the self-same Lord Sri Krishna. This time, however, he appeared as a great devotee of the Lord in order to preach the people in general as well as to religionists and philosophers about the transcendental position of Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord and the cause of all causes. The essence of his preaching is that Lord Sri Krishna, who appeared as Brajabhumi Vrindavana, as the son of the king Braja, Nanda Maharaj, is the supreme personality of Godhead and is therefore worshipable by all. Vrindavana Dham is non-different from the Lord because the name, fame, from, place where the Lord manifests himself are all identical with the Lord as the absolute knowledge. Vrindavana Dham is non-different from the Lord, but the name, fame, form, and place where the Lord manifests himself are all identical with the Lord as absolute knowledge. Therefore, Vrindavana Dham is as worshipable as the Lord. The highest form of transcendental worship of the Lord was exhibited by the damsels of Brajabhumi in the form of pure affection for the Lord, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends this process as the most excellent mode of worship. He accepts the Srimad Bhagavat Purana as the spotless literature for understanding the Lord, and he preaches that the ultimate goal of life for all human beings is to attain the stage of prema or love of God. The ultimate goal of life. समझ में आया ब्रो? अल्टीमेट गोल क्या है? Yes, bro. Many devotees of the Lord Chaitanya, like Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, Sri Lochan Das Thakur, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Srila Kavi Karna Pura, Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and in this letter is within 200 years Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan, Sri Shyamananda Goswami, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and at last Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our spiritual master, and many other great and renowned scholars and the devotees of the Lord have prepared voluminous books and literature on the life and precepts uh, of the Lord. Such literature are all based on the Shastras like the Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, Ramayanas, Mahabharatas, and other histories and authentic literatures approved by the recognized acharyas. They are unique in composition and unrivaled in presentation. Unrivaled, rivaled in presentation, and they are full of transcendental knowledge. Unfortunately, the people of the world are still ignorant of them. But when these literatures, which are mostly in Sanskrit and Bengali, come to light the world, and when they are presented before thinking people, then India's glory and the message of love will overflow with morbid world, which is vainly searching after peace and prosperity by various illusory methods not approved by acharyas in the chain of disciplic succession. The readers of this small description of the life and the precepts of Lord Chaitanya will profit much to go through the books of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The early life of the Lord is most fascinatingly expressed by the author of Chaitanya Bhagavat. And as far as the teachings are concerned, they are more vividly explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now they are available to English-speaking public in our teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The Lord's early life was recorded by one of his chief devotees and contemporaries, namely Srila Murari Gupta, a medical practitioners of their time. And the latter part of the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was recorded by his private secretary, Sri Damodar Goswami, or Srila Swarup Damodar, who was practically a constant companion of the Lord at Puri. There are two devotees recorded practically. We can look at the Lord's early life was recorded by one of his chief devotees and contemporaries, namely Srila Murari Gupta, a medical practitioner of that time. Acha. And the latter part of the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was recorded by his private secretary, Sri Damodar Goswami or Srila Swarup Damodar, who was practically a constant companion of the Lord at Puri. These two devotees recorded practically all the incidents of the Lord's activities. So Murari Gupta and Swarup Damodar. These two devotees recorded practically all the incidents of the Lord's activities and later on all the books dealing with the Lord, which are above mentioned, were composed on the basis of Kadachas notebooks by Srila Damodar Goswami and Murari Gupta. Okay. So the Lord advented himself on the Falguni Purnima, evening of 1407, Sakabda. And it will be the will of the Lord that there was a lunar eclipse on that evening. Okay. During the hours of the eclipse, it was the custom of the Hindu public to take bath in the Gangas or any other sacred rivers and chant the Vedic mantras for purification. When Lord Chaitanya was born during the lunar eclipse, all India was roaring with the holy sound of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These 16 names of the Lord are mentioned in many Puranas and Upanishads, and they are described as the Taraka Brahma Nama of this age. It is recommended in the Shastras that offenseless chanting of these holy names of the Lord can deliver a fallen soul from material bondage. There are innumerable names of the Lord both in India and outside, and all of them are equally good because all of them indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because these 16s are especially recommended for this age, people should take advantage of them and follow the path of the great acharyas who attained such success by practicing the rules of Shastras, revealed scriptures. The simultaneous occurrence of the Lord's appearance and the lunar eclipse indicates the uh, distinctive mission of the Lord. This mission was to preach the importance of chanting the holy name of the Lord in the age of Kali. In this present age, quarrels takes place even over trifles, and therefore the Shastras have recommended for this is a common platform for realization, namely chanting the holy name of the Lord. People can hold meetings to glorify the Lord in their respective languages and with melodious songs. And if such performances are executed in an offenseless manner, it is certain that the participants will gradually attain spiritual perfection without having to undergo more religious methods. At such meeting, everyone, the learned and the foolish, the rich and the poor, the Hindus and the Muslims, the Englishmen and the Indians, and the Chandalas and the Brahmanas can all hear the transcendental sounds and thus cleanse the dust of material association from the mirror of the heart. To confirm the Lord's mission, all the people of the world will accept the holy name of the Lord as the common platform for the own universal religion of mankind. In other words, the advent of the holy name took place along with the advent of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, the advent of the holy name took place along with the advent of the Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay. When the Lord was on the lap of his mother, he would at once stop crying as soon as the ladies surrounding him chanted the holy name and clapped their hands. Okay, this peculiar incident was observed by the neighbors with awe and veneration. Sometimes the young girl took pleasure in making the Lord cry, and then stopping him by chanting the holy name. So uh, from his very childhood, the Lord began to preach the importance of the holy name. Acha. In this early years, Lord Sri Chaitanya was known as Nimai. This name was given by his beloved mother because the Lord took his birth beneath a nimba tree in the courtyard of his parental house. When the Lord was offered solid food at the age of 6 months in the Annaprasana ceremony, 6 months in the Annaprasana ceremony, the Lord indicated his future activities. The Lord indicated his future activities. At this time, it was customary to offer the child both coins and books in order to get some indication of the future tendencies of the child. The Lord was offered on one side coin and the other side Srimad Bhagavatam. The Lord accepted the Bhagavatam instead of the coin. Okay. When he was a mere baby crawling in the yard, one day a snake appeared before him, and the Lord began to play with it. All the members of the house were struck with fear and away, but after a little while the snake went away, and the baby was taken away by his mother. Once he was stolen by a thief. who intended to steal his ornaments, but the Lord took a pleasure trip on the shoulder of the bewildered thief, who was searching for a solitary place in order to rob the baby. It so happened that the thief, wandering hither and thither, finally arrived just before the house of Jagannath Misra, and being afraid of being caught, dropped the baby at once. Of course, the anxious parents and relatives were glad to see the lotus child. प्रभु thief का तो उद्धार हो गया होगा वो महाप्रभु को तो हाँ? Once a pilgrim Brahmana was received at the house of Jagannath Misra, and when he was offering food to the Godhead, the Lord appeared before him and partook of the prepared food. The eatable had to be rejected because the child touched them, and so the Brahmana had to make another preparation. The next time, the same thing happened, and when this happened repeatedly for the third time, the baby was finally put to bed. At about 12 at night, when all the members of the house were fast asleep within their closed room, the pilgrim Brahmana offered his specially prepared food for the deity, and in the same way, the baby Lord appeared before the pilgrim and spoiled his offering. The Brahmana then began to cry. But since everyone was fast asleep, no one could hear him. At that time, the baby Lord appeared before the fortunate Brahmana and disclosed his identity as Krishna himself. The Brahmana was forbidden to disclose this incident, and the baby returned to the lap of his mother. There are many similar incidents in his childhood. As a naughty boy, he sometimes used to tease the Orthodox Brahmanas who used to bath in the Gangas. When the Brahmanas complained to his father and he was splashing them with water instead of attending school, the Lord suddenly appeared before his father as though just coming from the school with all his school clothes and book. Yeah, Mama, wow. At the bathing ghat, he also used to play jokes on the neighboring girls who engaged in worshipping Shiva in hope to getting good husbands. This is a common practice amongst unmarried girls in Hindu families. Acha. While they were engaged in such worship, the Lord naughtily appeared before them and said, "My dear sister, please give me all the offerings you have just brought for Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is my devotee, and Parvati is my maid servant. If you worship me, then Lord Shiva and all the other demigods will be more satisfied." तो सही बोल रहे थे. Some of them refused to obey the naughty Lord, and he would curse them that due to their refusal, they would be married to old men who had 7 children by their previous wives. क्या गया हुआ? Some of them refused to obey the naughty Lord, and he would curse them that due to their refusal, they would be married to old men who had 7 children by their previous wife. अच्छा. Out of fear and sometimes out of love, the girls would also offer him various goods, and out of fear, answer डर गए श्राप से डर गए. And the Lord would bless them and assure them that they would have a very good young husband and that they would be a mother of dozens of children. The blessing would enliven the girl, but they used often to complain of their incidents to their mothers. Okay, in this way, the Lord pleased his every early childhood. In this way, the Lord passed his early childhood. When he was just 16 years old, he started his own Chaupat. Chatuspati, the village school conducted by the learned Brahmanas. In this school, he would simply explain Krishna. Even in reading of grammars, Srila Jiva Goswami, in order to please the Lord, later composed a grammar in Sanskrit, in which all the rules of grammar were explained with examples that used the holy name of the Lord. This grammar is still current. It is known as Harina Mamrita Vyakarana and is prescribed in the syllabus of school in Bengal. Oh, जाना पड़ेगा मेरा कहीं पढ़ने. नहीं, हम किताब ले आएंगे लोग. During this time, a great Kashmir scholar named अच्छा Keshav Kashmiri came to Navadip to hold discussion on the Shastras. The Kashmiri Pandit was a champion scholar and he had traveled to all places of learning in India. Finally, he come to Navadip to contest the learned Panditas there. The Panditas of Navadip decided to match Nimai Pandit with the Kashmiri Pandit, thinking that if Nimai Pandit were defeated, then would have another chance to debate with the scholar. But Nimai Pandit was only a boy, and if the Kashmir Pandit were defeated, then they would even be more glorified, because people would proclaim that a mere boy of Navadip has defeated a champion scholar who was famous throughout world. Uh, it so happened that Nimai Pandit met Kesav Kashmiri while strolling on the banks of the Gangas. The Lord requested him to compose a Sanskrit verse in praise of the Gangas. The Pandita, within a sort of time, composed 100 shlokas, reciting the verse like a storm and showing the strength of his vast learning. Nimai Pandit at once memorized all the shlokas without any error. He quoted the 64 slokas and pointed out certain rhetorical and literary irregularities. He particularly questioned the Pandita's use of the word Bhavani Bhartu. He pointed out that the use of this word was redundant. Bhavani means the wife of Shiva, and who else can be her Bharta or husband? He also pointed out several other discrepancies, and the Kashmiri Pandit was struck with wonder. He was astonished that a mere student of grammar could point out the literary mistakes of an erudite, erudite scholar. Although this matter was ended prior to any public meeting, the news spread like wildfire all over Navadip. But finally, Kesav Kashmiri was ordered in a dream by Saraswati, the goddess of learning, to submit to the Lord, and thus the Kashmiri Pandit became a follower of the Lord. The Lord was then married with great pomp and gaiety, and at this time he began to preach the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord at Navadip. Some of the Brahmanas became envious of his popularity, and they put many hindrances on his path. They were so jealous that they finally took the matter before the Muslim magistrate at Navadip. Bengal was then governed by Pathans, and the governor of the province was Nawab Hussain Shah. Acha. The Muslim magistrate of Navadip took up the complaints of Brahmanas seriously, and at first he warned the followers of Nimai Pandit not to chant loudly the name of Hari. But Lord Chaitanya asked his followers to disobey the orders of Kazi, and they went on their Sankirtana, chanting party as usual. The magistrate then sent cons constables who interrupted a Sankirtan and broke some of the mridangas. When Nimai Pandit was heard of this incident, he organized a party for civil disobedience. He is the pioneer of the civil disobedience movement in India for the right cause. He organized a procession of 100,000 men with thousands of mridangas and kartals, and this procession passed over the roads of Navadevi in defense of the Qazi who had issued the order. Finally, the procession reached the house of Qazi, who went upstairs out of fear of the masses. The great cowards assembled at the Qazi's house displayed a violent temper, but the Lord asked them to be peaceful. At this time, the Qazi came down and tried to pacify the Lord by addressing him as nephew. बापरे, nephew बना दिया. He pointed out that he referred to Nilamadhav Chakravarti as uncle. Sorry, Nilambar Chakravarti as uncle. And the Srimati Sachi Devi, Nimai Pandit's mother, was his cousin sister. The Muslim था ना bro. He asked the Lord whether the sister's son could be angry at his maternal uncle. Okay? And the Lord replied that अरे हम तो एक अंकल को तो वो निपटा के आए थे ना. वो स्टोरी क्या बोले, शायद वो स्टोरी नहीं पढ़ा था. कहाँ गया. And the Lord replied that since the Kazi was his maternal uncle, he should receive his nephew well at his home. In this way, the issue was mitigated, and the two learned scholars began a long discussion on the Quran and Hindu Shastras. The Lord raised the question of cow killing, and the Qazi properly answered him by referring to the Qurans. In turn, the Qazi also questioned the Lord about cow sacrifice in the Vedas, and the Lord replied that such sacrifice, as mentioned in the Vedas, is not actually cow killing. In that sacrifice, an old bull or cow was sacrificed for the sake of reviving a fresh, younger life by the power of Vedic mantras. But in the Kali Yuga, such cow sacrifices are forbidden because there are no qualified brahmanas capable of conducting such a sacrifice. In fact, in Kali Yuga, all yajnas are forbidden because they are useless attempts by foolish men. In Kali Yuga, only the Sankirtana Yajna is recommended for all practical purposes. Speaking in this way, the Lord finally convinced the Qazi, who became the Lord's follower. The Qazi, ये क्या लिखा है प्रभु? Thenceforth declared that no one should hinder the Sankirtan movement, which was started by the Lord. And the Qazi left his order in his will for the sake of progeny. The Qazi's tomb still exists in the area of Navadvip. The Hindu pilgrims go there to show their respects. The Qazi's descendants are residents, and they never object to Sankirtan, even during the Hindu-Muslim riot days. Wow. This incident shows clearly that the Lord was not a so-called timid Vaishnava. Vaishnava is a fearless devotee of the Lord. For the right cause, he can take any step suitable for the purpose. Okay. Arjuna was also a Vaishnava devotee of the Lord Krishna, and he fought valiantly for the satisfaction of the Lord. Similarly, Bajrang Gaji. बजरंग जी कौन है ब्रो? और हनुमान. अच्छा, वज्र अंग जी, जिनका अंग वज्र है, बजरंग जी. हम बजरंग वाली बोलते हैं ना. और हनुमान was also a devotee of the Lord Rama, and he gave lessons to the non-devotee party of Ravana. The principles of Vaishnavism are to satisfy the Lord by all means. A Vaishnava is by nature a non-violent, peaceful living being, and he has all the good qualities of God. But when the non-devotees blaspheme the Lord or his devotees, the Vaishnava never tolerate such impudency. After this incident, the Lord began to preach and propagate his Bhagavat Dharma or Sankirtan movement more vigorously, and whoever stood against this propagation of the Yuga Dharma or duty of the age was properly punished by various types of chastisement. Two Brahmanas, gentlemen named as Chapala and Gopal. Chapala and Gopal, who also happened to be maternal uncle of the Lord, were inflicted with leprosy by way of chastisement, and later when they were repentant, they were accepted by the Lord. In the course of his preaching work, he used to send daily all his followers, including Srila Nityananda Prabhu and Thakur Haridas, two chief whips of his party, for door to door to preach Srimad Bhagavatam. All of Navadvip was surcharged with his Sankirtana movement, and his headquarters were situated at the house of Srivas Thakur and Sri Advaita Prabhu, two of his chief householders' disciples. These two learned heads of the Brahman community were the most ardent supporters of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Srila Advaita Prabhu was the chief cause of the advent of the Lord. When Advaita Prabhu saw that the total human society was full of materialistic activities and devoid of devotional service, which alone could save mankind from the threefold miseries existence, he, out of his causeless compassion for the age-worn human society, prayed fervently for the incarnation of the Lord and continually worshipped the Lord with the water of the Gangas and the leaves of the holy Tulsi tree. As far as preaching work in the Sankirtan movement was concerned, everyone was expected to do his daily share according to the order of the Lord. Once Nityananda Prabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur were walking down a main road, and on the way they saw a roaring crowd assembled. Upon inquiring from passers-by, they understood that two brothers, namely Jagai Madai, were creating a public disturbance in a drunken state. They also heard that these two brothers were born in a respectable Brahmana family, but because of low association, they had turned into debauchees of the worst type. They were not only drunkards, but also meat eaters, omen hunters, dacoits, and sinners of all description. Srila Nityananda Prabhu heard all of these stories and decided that these two fallen sons must be the first to be delivered. If they were delivered from their sinful life, then the good name of Lord Chaitanya would be even still more glorified. Thinking in this way, Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas pushed their way through the crowd and asked the two brothers to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. The drunken brothers became enraged upon this request and attacked Nityananda Prabhu with filthy language. Both brothers chased them a considerable distance. मतलब both brothers मतलब कौन ये नित्यानंद प्रभु एंड नहीं जगह माधव अच्छा both brothers chased them a considerable distance. In the evening, the report of the preaching work was submitted to the Lord. बाप रे रिपोर्ट भी सबमिट होता था वही तो अच्छा वही वाला हमारे साधना कार्ड याद कर देते हैं ना And last to learn that नित्यानंद एंड हरिदास हाँ वही टू ब्रदर्स अच्छा ये वाला तो अलग है वो दो गए थे ना नित्यानंद प्रभु एंड हरिदास has attempted to deliver such a stupid pair of fellow. The next day, Nityananda Prabhu went to see the brothers, and as soon as he approached them, one of them threw a piece of earthen pot at him. This struck him on forehead, and immediately blood began to flow. But Nityananda Prabhu, who was so kind that instead of protesting his hilarious act, he said, "It does not matter that you have thrown this stone at me. I still request you to chant the holy name of the Lord Hari." One of the brothers, Jagai, was astonished to see this behavior of Nityananda Prabhu, and he at once fell down at his feet and asked him to pardon his sinful brother. When Madai again attempted to hurt Nityananda Prabhu, he stopped him and implored him to fall down at his feet. The meantime, the news of Nityananda's injury reached the Lord, who at once hurried to the spot in a fiery and angry mood. The Lord immediately invokes his Sudarshan Chakra, the Lord's ultimate weapon, and shaped like a wheel to kill the sinners. But Nityananda Prabhu reminded him of his mission. The mission of the Lord was to deliver the hopelessly fallen souls of Kali Yuga, and the brothers Jagai and Madai were typically examples of these fallen souls. 90% of the population of this age resembles these brothers, despite high birth and mundane respectability. According to the verdict of the revealed scriptures, the total population of the world in this age will be of the lowest Sudra quality or even lower. It should be noted that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never acknowledged the stereotyped caste system by birthright. Rather, he strictly followed the verdict of the Shastras in the matter of one's Swarupa or real identity. When the Lord was invoking his Sudarshan Chakra, Srila Nityananda Prabhu was imploring him to forgive the two brothers. Both the brothers fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and begged his pardon for their gross behavior. The Lord was also asked by Nityananda Prabhu to accept these repenting souls, and the Lord agreed to accept them on one condition, that they henceforward completely give up all their sinful activities and habit of debauchery. Both the brothers agreed and promised to give up all their sinful habits, and the kind Lord accepted them and did not again refer to their past misdeeds. Promise दे दें छोड़ दिए. This is the specific kindness of Lord Chaitanya. In the age, no one can say that he is free from sin. It is impossible for anyone to say this. But Lord Chaitanya accepts all kind of sinful persons on one condition, that they promise not to indulge in sinful habits after being spiritually initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. This point is yes, Prabhu. Oh, ये condition है. The Lord Chaitanya accept all kind of sinful person on the one condition, that they promise not to indulge in sinful habits after being spiritually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master. Okay, और थोड़ा पढ़ लेते हैं. There are a number of instructive points to be observed in the incident of the two brothers. In the Kali Yuga, particularly, all the people are of the quality of Jagai Madai. If they want to be revealed from the reactions of their misdeeds, they must take shelter of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after spiritual initiation, those refrain from those things which are prohibited in the Shastras. Though prohibitory rules are dealt with in the Lord's teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami. During his householder life, the Lord did not display many of the miracles which are generally expected from such personalities. But he did once perform a wonderful miracle in the house of Srinivas Thakur while Sankirtana was in full swing. He asked the devotees what they wanted to eat, and when he was informed that they wanted to eat mangoes, he asked for a seed of mango. Although this fruit was out of season, when the seed was brought to him, he sowed it in the yard of Srinivas, and at once a creeper began to grow out of the seed. Within no time, this creeper became a full-grown mango tree, heavy with more ripened fruits than the devotees could eat. The tree remained in Srinivas' yard, and from then on, the devotees used to take as many mangoes from the trees as they wanted. ये will तीन होगा अभी? पता नहीं. Mention तो नहीं किया. The Lord had a very high estimation of the affectionate of the damsels of Brajavani. Okay, यहाँ से next time पढ़ेंगे. ये कहाँ तक है? Lord has a very high estimation. यहाँ से. Okay. That's it for today. मजा आ गया. धन्यवाद प्रभु. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. जय.